The tip number 1 is to hold on to the thread ends when you start sewing. Even when the needle seems to be in the up position, if the metal piece inside is in the down position, is about to rise, it pulls the top thread, causing the thread to slip out of the needle. Then you think, okay, so if you leave a really long tail, even if it gets pulled in a little, it still doesn't slip out of the needle, or you can just make sure that the lever is in the up position. But when you do it like this, now you have this really messy beginning of a stitch that looks like a bird's nest. So the quick solution to this is to make sure the top thread is under the foot, and then grab the both ends and then hold on to them while you stitch the first couple of stitches. And then you can let them go. And then you have a clean beginning of the stitch. Tip number 2 is using a shim. So this is a feed dog and this is a presser foot. The feed dog is going to move like this to send the fabric to the back. And that's how the machine moves the fabric. And the feed dog and the presser foot sandwich the fabric. And now the presser foot is giving the pressure evenly across the foot. This way the machine can correctly move the fabric for even stitching. When you're trying to sew thick fabric or a lot of layers, especially at the beginning, you can see the presser foot is not level. You want to keep it like this for the fabric to be correctly fed to the machine. Right now there is a pressure here, but not a lot of pressure here, so you cannot move the fabric correctly. What you want to do is to add the similar layer in the back so that the presser foot is level. Now you can start sewing nicely. There is this specialty tool called Jig, and this is especially useful when you're sewing denim or thick fabrics alike. But you don't have to have this specific tool. You just need to have a scrap of fabric and fold it a couple times to use for this purpose. And this is a hack to combine tip number 1 and tip number 2. You start sewing on a piece of folded scrap fabric. It doesn't have to be quite this big, but now you can start sewing the real thing. And then when you come to the end, you're gonna put this piece again. And keep doing this, and you can always have clean beginning and clean end. And also, when you're done sewing, you should always lower the presser foot because this is the better resting position for sewing machines. The third tip is to change the presser foot pressure according to the fabric thickness. On my Singer Heavy Duty 4411, it's this thing here. But before messing with it, I want to make sure that I can come back to the factory setting. So I'm just going to put the tape here. And mark where I want to come back. Now using something like coins, you can change the press-a-foot pressure. You want to make it weaker for thin fabric and stronger for thick fabric. You can see on this stitch that the fabric is rippling a little bit. This means that press-a-foot pressure is a little too strong. So I lowered it a little bit. Now I'm gonna try to sew it like this. I can see that this is a little bit better than this one, but I can probably lower it a little bit more. The trick is to do it just a little at a time and sew the sample and move it a little bit more. Just do it by baby steps. So this is the last one I just did, and I think this is much better than these. Creating a beautiful stitch is a balancing act between the top and bottom thread tensions and the press-a-foot pressure, especially if you see puckering or gathering on the bottom of the piece or uneven stitching. Try adjusting the press-a-foot pressure. But when I'm done with the fabric, I'm just going to move it back to the factory setting for the next project. I guess these are more like sewing machine basics than secrets, but I didn't know about them in the first couple years of my self-taught sewing journey, so I thought they might be useful for some beginners. The thing is that if you invest in more higher-end sewing machines, those expensive machines do all these little things automatically so that you don't have to worry about them. So if you have real adult money to invest in your sewing, I highly recommend getting something like JUKI professional grade sewing machine. But you can sew beautifully on any machines if you pay attention to these little things. This Singer Heavy Duty 4411 has been serving me fine for the last 15 years. Just remember these little tips I just gave you in this video. If you have any sewing questions, please leave it in the comment section, and happy sewing!